Good morning, students. Today in biological and physical science we are going to discuss about subunit 8.6. The title of this subunit is Laboratory as a Learning Resource. So in this subunit we are going to discuss about detailed things of laboratory. Okay, what are the conditions of a laboratory, and how should be it. Okay, what are the equipments and the material should be there, and how to take care of those materials. Okay, so laboratory work can be used as a powerful learning resource of science, and laboratory work is based on the principle of learning by doing, and it is an integral part of science education. Okay, because we as a science students and science teachers, we think that laboratory is a powerful tool because our science is based upon the evidences, so we prove all those evidences with the help of laboratory, and our our science concepts are based upon learning by doing, so we facilitate this learning by doing by laboratory method. So it helps in better understanding of various concepts of science and construction of knowledge. So the first hand experience obtained through experimental work imprints a permanent impression on the minds of learners. So it is for better understanding. If you perform the laboratory experiments with the help of students, so what happened, they understand the concepts very well. Okay, and it imprints the permanent impression on the minds of the learner, so they never forget that concept because they did that experiment or activity in order to understand the concept. So it provides opportunity to the teacher to inculcate various process skills of science. Okay, we know what there are different process skills of science. In order to learn the concepts, we use these process skills. Okay, so what are they? Observation, classification, analysis of data, recording, inferring, generalizing, and communicating. These all called as process skills. Okay, by doing or performing each and every skill, they understand the concepts and they draw the conclusions and generalizations. So process skills acquired help in developing interest, values, and spirit of inquiry that constitute scientific attitude. So with the help of process skills, they develop spirit of inquiry and scientific attitude, which is most important for the study of science. So it provides an environment to learners for exhibiting their qualities such as resourcefulness, intuitiveness, orderliness, cooperation, and team spirit. So these all will be developed in the learners because of laboratory. And students enjoy working together with their peers with some freedom of action, having a feel of excitement of the unknown and achieving a sense of discovery. So here they are working with their students, and at the end when they find the result, they feel that they achieved something. Okay, they got something, they discovered something. So that will be that we can see in this laboratory method. And thus laboratory work facilitate development of cognitive abilities, means related to head and mind. Okay, and principles and laws discussed in the classroom may precede or follow the laboratory work, or it may be carried out during discussion. So whatever principles or theories we are discussing in the classroom, that are proved in the laboratory, so their cognitive abilities will be developed. Process skills of science, observation, analysis, interpretation. Okay, these all process skills will develop, and scientific attitude will develop because they are doing everything. So they don't believe the hearsays and just whatever you say, because everything they believe with the help of experimentation. So scientific attitude develop, and understanding nature of science, because they understand the science here, because they are doing everything, each and everything, in order to understand the concepts of science. So nature of science is based upon the experimentation, observation, these things they learn basically. And use of laboratory must be focused towards achieving these objectives. So wherever you are conducting laboratory sessions, you must focus on these things like achieving the cognitive abilities, process skills, scientific attitude, understanding nature of science. So these will be your objectives whenever you are teaching students through laboratory method. And these are the laboratory work facilities development of process skills, scientific attitude, cognitive abilities, and understanding nature of science. So this is in the diagrammatic representation, whatever we have discussed in the previous slide, same as it is here in the diagrammatic representation, that the laboratory work facilitates the development of process skills, cognitive skills, scientific attitude, and understanding of the nature of the science. So here the kind of experiences that is provided by the laboratory cannot be replaced by any other exercise. See, this is the ultimate things they can learn. This cannot be replaced by anything. How well you can explain, but you cannot give direct experiences to the students. So that is the importance of laboratory here. It cannot be replaced by any other exercise. And well planned laboratory experiences have great potential to attract our young generation into science courses. So if you plan laboratory sessions very properly, okay, and very keenly, so thus it attracts students to go through the science streams and opt the science subjects in their future. Okay, because in school level, if you create such interest among the students by performing the experimentations and activities, they develop interest in science, because everything they are understanding with the help of experimentation. So is there anything which is better than this? Because they are seeing with their eyes whatever they are studying in the textbooks. So I don't think this is the very apart from this, we cannot facilitate the students effectively. So laboratory method is very effective. By this we can develop the interest and enthusiasm among the students in order to continue in the science field. And development of the process skills cannot be taken for granted as the byproduct of the process skills. Okay, so these process skills you cannot take granted that anyhow students will develop, but here the teacher has to be vigilant and have keep an eye on the students, how they are developing these process skills. So for that, here you have to provide opportunities to raise question involving the learners in critical discussion, investigating their own questions, and being flexible in the work should be facilitated in the laboratory. So here, how do you develop these process skills? Okay, you raise the question what is about the experimentations and the investigations whatever they are doing, and involving the learners in critical discussion. Okay, like ask reason based and analytical and logical questions in the experimentation, how this is happening, why this is happening, like that. So and investigating their own questions and being flexible in the work. If they ask any question, okay, ask them to investigate by themselves, okay, or you guide to the students how to investigate that question. Like that they develop the process skills. And it is to kept in mind that emphasis should be given to the first 5 letters of laboratory rather than the last 7 letters. So what are the first 5 letters of the laboratory? LABOR, labor. Okay, last 5 letters oratory. So here you should give importance to the labor, learning by doing. Involve the students to do the activities and learn by themselves. Ask them to explore their investigations and come out with findings and discoveries. That is the labor. Until and unless they don't do, they cannot understand. So here give importance to first 5 letters. Labor means give importance to doing rather than oratory, just giving suggestions, instructions, or explanations. Next, approaches to laboratory work. So what are the different approaches in the laboratory work? Mainly there are 3 types of approaches in the laboratory work: deductive approach, inductive approach, and problem solving approach. What is deductive approach? First of all, it is the most common approach and used for the verification of concepts, laws, and principles of science. So first what you do here in deductive approach, you teach the students about laws, principles, and concepts. Okay, then you ask them to verify. So how they go here? They don't know about what are these laws, principles, just they as a abstract concepts they have understood these laws and principles. Okay, then they, with the help of hands-on experience or first-hand experience, they find out about those laws and principles. For example, about Ohm's law and Archimedes principle. Okay, you give the statements and laws of these principles, that after receiving these principles, they work on these principles in order to reach the basic ideas of these principles. So that type of approach is called deductive approach. Means first you are giving the laws and principles to the students, then they are working on it in order to understand those principles and laws. Okay, this is called deductive approach, also called as abstract to concrete or unknown to known. So you see, when they listen about this Ohm's law and Archimedes principle, they don't know much about it, but when they work on these principles by applying those principles in the in activities in order to understand the concepts, then they understood. So this is called a deductive approach. Means unknown to known they are going, or abstract to concrete they are going. In the same way, inductive approach, it is opposite to deductive approach. Okay, here through exploration, through working, they understand the laws and concepts. First they work, then they understand the, so known to unknown they go here. Okay, so here students are provided opportunity to develop concepts, principles and laws through first hand experience before these ideas are discussed in the class. So students search for patterns, relationship between different quantities and applications of the concepts while engaged in the laboratory work. So here how they are going, known to unknown. First they are justifying, they are doing, they are exploring the things, then they are understanding the concepts, principles and laws, because they are in the abstract forms. So in order to understand those abstract forms, you need to understand the concrete forms. Okay, so this is deductive and inductive. Deductive is from abstract to concrete, inductive is from concrete to abstract. So here the third approach is problem solving approach. Here they learn the concepts through problem solving. They take the concept as a problem and they work in order to solve that problem. So learners can be provided opportunities to do open-ended activities and experiments of exploratory nature where they have freedom to explore their ideas. Okay, so here they choose a learning concept as a problem and they explore in nature, and they with full freedom they explore the ideas. So by the time students reach higher secondary stage, they acquire basic technical and inquiry skills. So they should be encouraged to identify their own problem, develop hypothesis, design investigation and experiment to solve the problem, collect and organize the data and report their findings. It gives them opportunity to become independent learners, organize their own learning and develop self-confidence. So here they become, in a broad sense, when you give freedom to them in order to explore the ideas, in order to solve the problems, okay, they become open-minded, okay, broad-minded. They work in a various forms, okay, and they define the problem, they frame the hypothesis and they design the investigation and experiments. So like this here, this is also one approach of laboratory work. Okay, in these three approaches you can assign the laboratory work to the students, either deductive, inductive or problem solving approach. Then planning and organizing laboratory work. So whenever you are planning and organizing this laboratory work, you should ask some questions to yourself whether you are planning it properly or not. So are materials, apparatus available in the laboratory? Then have I performed the experiment myself to check the functionality of all apparatus? How will applications of their findings enhance their learning? How will I facilitate them to perform the experiment? How will I integrate the laboratory experiments with classroom teaching learning experiences? How will I involve learners in setting up the experiments? Is the objective of activity, experiment, project, work clear to the students? Is the procedure simple and can be performed within the allotted time period? So if you ask these all questions, you work towards finding of answers to these questions, and you prepare for yourself for proper laboratory activities if you ask yourself these questions. Okay, so these are the preparatory steps as a teacher to conduct the or planning and organizing the laboratory work. So you must ensure these all questions whenever you are going to conduct a laboratory work. The learning experiences in the laboratory should provide some challenge to students to learn. Okay, so here in the laboratory, whatever experiences you are providing to the students, it should be challengeable. Okay, and they get interested if they understand the purpose of the experiment and are made to realize the application of it to their everyday life. Okay, they get interested, and if you made such situations or such experiences that they can implement these laboratory experiments in their daily life, that become more interesting and more effective for their learning. And students can be involved in planning and organizing various works of laboratory. So there are some following guidelines for planning and organizing experiments in physical science and as well as biological science. May be considered as a notice board to display safety rules of the laboratory. You have to display the safety rules of the laboratory. Timetable, because there are some batch students come to the laboratory batch wise, class wise. So in our schools we have higher classes like 6th to 10th class. So which day or which session, like forenoon, afternoon, which class is going to perform the activities or experiment, that timetable will be written and hanged. And list of experiments, group patterns, etc. can be maintained and kept up to date. And during the laboratory work, an extensive and critical discussion on the theoretical aspects of the experiment with the students and continuous assessment of their performance are of utmost importance. So before going to perform the experiments, you ask the students to undergo the theoretical aspects of the experiment. Ask them to go through the procedure, aims, equipments, okay, requirements, how to find out the findings, everything, so that it is easy to understand the experiment and perform the experiment. And enough apparatus should be set up to provide opportunity to all the learners on hands-on activities, and it should be checked that apparatus are proper working condition. And first aid box must be kept ready, and timely replacement of medicines must be ensured. And good discipline is necessary for smooth functioning of the laboratory work, and it should be ensured that students have a sound theoretical knowledge required for handling the apparatus and performing the experimental work. For this, theory and practical teaching learning situations should be properly integrated and coordinated. And maintaining all possible standards of safety in the laboratory and inculcating safety conscious attitude in students are important. And open-ended activities and experiments provide students freedom to explore their ideas. So as much as possible, give open-ended activities, means where they have freedom to explore by themselves. And remember that safety of the students and teachers is more important than the safety of the apparatus. So these things you have to remember whenever you are planning the laboratory. And safety kits such as fire extinguishers, sand buckets, rubber gloves, separate dustbins for dry and wet waste materials, etc. should be kept handy. Students should come prepared for the laboratory work. They should be encouraged to refer laboratory manual and other supplementary materials. They should be facilitated to find answers to their own questions, okay, and this help the teacher to know their misconceptions and naive concepts. I told you what are misconceptions and naive concepts. Misconceptions and naive concepts means the concept which are formed by the students themselves, okay, which are not explained by anybody, though it is explained, it is not based upon the scientific evidence. That is called as misconceptions or naive concepts. So she can be facilitated them into the construction and reconstruction of their knowledge. So okay, so these also clarified in the laboratory work. And generally in the beginning of the session, the teacher takes the students around the laboratory to familiarize them with the general facilities, equipment, apparatus, chemicals, glassware, etc. available in the laboratory, and informs them about certain do's and don'ts while working in the laboratory. So before going to perform the scientific experiments of science, the teacher give a round of the laboratory to the students so that they can have a look of each and everything of the laboratory and what are the do's and don'ts in order to maintain the laboratory rules and code of conduct. It will be explained to the students. And working in group in the laboratory, so because in the laboratory they work, if the whenever apparatus is less, or whenever you want to develop group learning, you can use this working in group in the laboratory. So it is useful. In one apparatus, 4 to 5 members of the students can understand the topic, and the substances, the materials and chemicals also consume less if they are working in the groups. Okay, and collaboration, cooperation, mutual understanding and other social skills also learned by the students if they are working in the group. And motivating students to maintain the regular record of laboratory work. Okay, here you have to motivate the students in order to maintain the regular record of laboratory. Okay, it shows that what are the observations and findings they are doing in the lab. Okay, so here first one is the auxiliary record book. Okay, here the teacher asks the students to maintain the auxiliary record book. What is the meaning of auxiliary record book? It is a book in which all the observations and findings will be noted. Okay, so like lab observation record. Okay, so in this the students, whatever experiments they perform, they write their aims, procedures, their findings, results, conclusions and generalizations, everything they note in that. So that is called as auxiliary record book, and the teacher must ensure that ensure all the students to make this auxiliary record book. And laboratory notebook for keeping the systematic and methodological records of the experiments. Okay, even library notebook also they can make. Auxiliary is a like little bit rough because immediate findings and observations they do in that. Then library notebook is little bit neat. And students should keep in mind that proper plan for recording and observation should be made. Okay, so students should know how to record those observations and findings. Whenever possible, observation should be represented with the help of diagrams and graphs also if it is required. Okay, they have to represent their findings with the help of graphs and diagrams. And teachers should ensure that observations are recorded in the auxiliary notebook in the laboratory itself. Okay, so they should be ensured in the observations should be recorded in this auxiliary notebook. And students should be encouraged to learn to distinguish inferences from their observations. Okay, here ask the students to give the generalizations, conclusions and differences, reasons and logic on their inferences, whatever findings they have find out. And also they should have understanding of the relevant concepts, principles and theory to interpret the result. And after getting checked the observations, calculations and result in the auxiliary notebook by their science teacher, students should make a final record in the laboratory notebook of the experiment performed. Okay, so index record in the laboratory index table should be duly filled up. Regularity in the submission of laboratory record book should be ensured. So in the auxiliary notebook already these findings should are mentioned, so students should cross check with those findings and they with their laboratory notebook, and they have to make necessary rectifications. And this should be regularity in the submission of laboratory record book should be ensured. Okay, every weekly or monthly the teacher has to check this laboratory notebook of the students whether they are maintaining it properly or not. And a few words of appreciation can encourage students to maintain regularity. You have to appreciate the students. This is the reinforcement in order to enhance their learning. You have to appreciate them in order to maintain regularity. And learning indicators for various experiments can be identified. Okay, what are learning indicators? Means what we have to assess in this learning context. For example, if they are doing any experiment, at the end of experiment whether the experiment has been understood by the students or not, in order to understand that you assess the students. Okay, so on what basis you have to assess, what questions or what assessment criteria you have to follow, that gives details about this learning indicators. Okay, so what you have to assess at the end of the program or at the end of the class or session, that is the learning indicators. By assessing that you can understand your outcomes of the program. Next, safety in the laboratories. So now how you maintain or how you take care the safety procedures in the laboratories. So here the science teacher is to develop safety conscious attitude and safe personal habits in students. Students need to learn about safety in the laboratory by being instructed about the hazards rather than by expressing them. They should be given explanation of the laboratory safety rules with reasoning. They should be warned of any specific hazard when it is likely to arise, and the layout of the laboratory should be such that teacher is able to oversee the activities of all the students in the class. Okay, the laboratory should be arranged in such a manner the teacher from standing at one corner or sitting by one place can have a look on overall activities of the lab. And the location of water, gas, electricity, main control and firefighting equipment should be at the proper and convenient place. They should have rapid access to the site if any accident occur. Above all, teachers should avoid getting stuck at a place. Okay, should move around the classroom to offer suggestions to those who are confused as how to use an equipment. So teacher should not stuck or stick at one place. Okay, he or she should be continuously roam or move in the laboratory in order to have a look on the students performance, and if they are not understanding anything, he has to guide or facilitate to that particular students. And all reasonable precautions in the performance of laboratory work should be taken. Lesson should be planned in such a way that all the hazards are minimized. Okay, so you should see that there should be safety in the laboratory. And mechanical and glassware hazards. Okay, what are mechanical and glassware hazards? These are the equipments with moving parts constitute a hazard. Okay, equipments with moving parts constitute a hazard if they are misused or fail to operate properly. Okay, so that is called this mechanical and glassware hazards. Means any equipment or apparatus or the materials with moving parts is a hazard if they are misused or fail. So here see some precautions for this mechanical and glassware hazards. Broken glass pieces can be cleaned with the aid of some plasticine. Okay, broken glass pieces can be cleaned with the aid of some plasticine. What is plasticine? Plasticine is soft modeling material used especially by children. Okay, is plasticine a soft modeling material made with the help of soft material. Whenever you are collecting or whenever you are what we call cleaning the area where the glass is broken, that time we can use this plasticine. And experiments involving the heating of solution should be done in Pyrex glassware, not in ordinary glassware. What is Pyrex glassware? Pyrex glassware is a heat resistant glassware. Means for doing heat procedures or heat reactions, we use the glassware which is made up of Pyrex glassware. Means which this glassware is heat resistant, it does not cause any harm to the students, and not in ordinary glassware. And glass stoppers which have become jammed should be loosened by tapping gently with a wooden block. Okay, glass stoppers means the caps of the glass bottles, if they are jammed, should be loosened by tapping gently with a wooden block wrapped in a soft cloth, or if the bottle contents are appropriate, by running warm water over the neck of the bottle. Either you can tap with the wooden block, or if the inside bottle content are appropriate, you can flow up warm water through the neck of the bottle, so that also loosens the cap or the stopper of the glass. And glass tubing should be cut with a file of glass knife, the hands being protected by a cloth. It should be carried vertically. Okay, what are these glass tubings? Okay, glass tubings are nothing but these are the hollow structures. Okay, we use in the experiments. Okay, made up of cylindrical and hollow waves they made up of. So if whenever you are cutting those glass tubings, you must use a glass knife, and you use your hand should be being protected by a cloth. Okay, and wherever possible, glass materials may be replaced by a less hazardous alternative. Okay, example plastic bowls and measuring cylinders. And large glass containers must be handled by the neck. Proper care should be taken in storing the apparatus. And reagents like to react vigorously with each other should be kept as far apart as possible. Okay, some reagents are, they react very fast. Okay, if you keep very near, so that should be kept as apart as possible. And liquids placed in spherical containers can act as a lens, okay, focusing enough sunlight to cause a fire. So what liquids, if you keep in the lens spherical containers, okay, that acts as a lens, the glass bottle acts as a lens sign that allow the sunlight to pass inside, and because of heat generated, maybe fire can occur. So they should be kept in dark. And students should be instructed to stay away from the heavy slotted weight hanging from a apparatus such as sonometer. Okay, this sonometer is a device for demonstrating the relationship between frequency of a sound produced by a string. So it is hanged by a heavy weights, so the student should be instructed to stay away from such kind of equipments. And electrical hazards, see what are the electrical hazards and how to take care of these electrical hazards. See, the resistance is very low if the skin is moist. A current of 100 milliampere through the body can be fatal. Okay, so in laboratory, if the current of 100 milliampere through the body can be become fatal. Fatal means cause or leads to the death. And a higher current can also produce burning. Some precautionary measures you have to take in order to reduce these electrical hazards. What are they? See, equipment should carry a distinctive on or off light, and service of electrical appliances, devices and apparatus should always be done by qualified experts. And hands and bench should be kept dried, and long trailing leads and makeshift connections should be avoided in the experiments. Okay, and the electric power supply or the electrical outlet in the physics laboratory should be sufficient in number and properly insulated, in excellent working order, properly grounded and inspected routinely by qualified electricians. And the range of the measuring instrument should be properly marked, and the student should understand the meaning of the range properly. Wearing metal rings, necklace, using metallic prongs, pencils, rulers, etc. should be avoided while working with switched on electrical equipment and apparatus. Wherever electrical outlets are not available, extension cords that are as short as possible and insulated properly for that particular voltage and current should be used. Okay, these all are the precautions you have to take in the electrical in order to reduce the electrical hazards, and these all are the general statements. And what are toxical hazards? So it would be better to treat all chemical and though they were poisonous, or as range of toxic substances is greater than those declared officially. Okay, some precautionary measures in order to reduce this toxic or poisonous hazards are: all the chemicals should be adequately labeled. Careful supervision is required in the use of caustic and corrosive substances. What is the meaning of caustic and corrosive substances? Any caustic and corrosive substance means any chemical that is able to burn living tissues or other substances. Okay, any chemical substance that is able to burn living tissues or other substances is called caustic or corrosive substances. And children are inquisitive by nature, so because children are curious, they by seeing the things, apparatus, chemicals, and they want to do something by touching. Okay, by adding, doing anything, they want to know about that thing. Okay, so they should be made aware of the harmful effect of those materials. And gases, vapors, fine spray and fumes of toxic materials may enter in the body by inhalation. So therefore it is of utmost importance to use right techniques of performing the experiment and having provisions of cross ventilation in the laboratory. Okay, so for that you have to have the provision of cross ventilation in the laboratory in order to reduce the effects of these gases, vapors and fine spray fumes. Ingestion of chemicals is most likely to arise from pipetting by mouth. Okay, so whistle should be kept on the students. So whenever students are doing pipetting out, you have to be vigilant. You have to check whether they are consuming the substance in order to pipetting out the substance. So the teacher should be vigilant whenever they are doing these things. And special care must be taken in some of the experiments, such as benzene should be replaced by methyl benzene. benzene. Okay, so wherever possible, chlorine gas should not be prepared in a large quantities on an open bench. So these are the things by which we can reduce the toxical hazards. Benzene is more concentrated than methyl benzene, so instead of benzene you can use methyl benzene, and don't produce more amount of chlorine gas. Okay, that is not good for health. In spite of taking all the precautions and minimizing the risk, what to do if accident occur? Okay, so when what you so by taking all those precautions also, you have to do, if any time if the incident occur accidentally, what you have to do. So here you have to consider it as act quickly and quietly and methodically without being panic stricken. Here whenever accident occur, you should not get fear or panic. Okay, it will be too late to think about procedure after an accident has happened. So keep the first aid box handy, available to your hands. A list of common accidents and their remedies approved by a good doctor should be hung on the side of the first aid cupboard. Okay, so that the right medicine can be applied in case of certain accidents. Okay, so however, the purpose of the first aid is not to substitute doctor's treatment, but to ensure that no further deterioration occurs. Okay, so here first aid means for a temporary medication you are giving, so that it does not cause big loss. So here see some steps you have to take in here. Remove the injured person from further hazard, means that this might be disconnecting electrical supply, gas or water, or removing from fire, etc. Anything you have to remove the injured person, and apply first aid immediately. If necessary, seek the help of your colleagues to control the class, and inform the school office of the accident for making arrangement of medical care. After the accident, submit a written report to administration stating the facts. Okay, you have to give reasons, okay, how it has occurred. And some other actions may be necessary to take, such as calling a fire brigade, evacuating the class into open air, etc. you can do. So lastly, we can say prevention is better than cure. So like this, whenever this incident occur, you have to act wisely and you have to follow these things. And there are certain safety rules followed for in biological science laboratory. Always follow the precautions suggested by the teacher for individual experiment and activity. And do not play with any apparatus, it may lead to an accident. Do not touch the electric switches with wet hands. Do not work with all doors and windows closed. Enter the laboratory in the presence of the teacher and follow all safety instructions. In case of fire or smoke or any accident in the laboratory, inform the concerned teacher immediately. Never try any secret experiment. Throw water and chemicals at proper places, not on the table or floor. Next, coming to the chemistry laboratory. So here in chemistry laboratory we have so many things, such as chemicals, water, okay, chemicals, apparatus, heating elements. Okay, so here we will discuss how we have to take care of all these things. First of all, chemical. A large number of chemicals are made available in the chemistry laboratory. Okay, you have to see that there should be more large number of chemicals should be available for the doing experiments, and these chemicals are available as solids, liquids and solutions. And whatever chemicals are required for a particular experiment, these should be made ready one day before the day of experiment to be performed by the student. So teacher must also see that the chemicals are in a sufficient amount. Let us take the example of experiment in which concentration of given sodium hydroxide solution is to be determined by titrating it against the standard solution of a oxalic acid. For example, here we are finding out the concentration of sodium hydroxide solution by determining the titration against the standard solution of oxalic acid. So how do you prepare this solution? Okay, what preparations you do for this? So the chemicals required are oxalic acid, sodium hydroxide and phenolphthalein. So all the three chemicals are used in the experiment as solutions. So therefore teacher must know how the solutions of these chemicals are prepared, what should be the normality of the strength of these solutions, how much chemical is required to prepare a solution for a particular group of students. At the same time, teacher should also know how to store the solutions, how to distribute these solutions among students at the time of practical class, and what to do with leftover solution. Okay, so these all things should be prepared priorly before conducting the experiment. And apparatus, the apparatus required for experiment include burette, pipette, conical flask, burette stand, funnel, measuring flask, and white glazed tile. Okay, so the glass apparatus must be neat and clean. Teacher must see to that the required apparatus is available in the laboratory for the group of students. She or he must know how to instruct students to clean and dry glass apparatus before using them. The setting of apparatus is another important part of every experiment. So here apparatus, you should check whether all the apparatus are there or not. Heating devices. In a chemistry laboratory, heating of substances, solutions is required during a number of experiments, especially during the chemical analysis of salts and their mixtures for detecting cations and anions present in them. So here heating increase the speed of chemical reaction. So you should see that heating substances and solutions required during an experiment should be adequately available in the laboratory. And the heating devices available may be a gas burner, okay, like a Bunsen burner, or spirit lamp, or kerosene lamp. Teacher must know every detail about these heating devices. Okay, like teacher must know how to adjust the air flow of the Bunsen burner to get a non-luminous, okay, blue colored and non-smoky flame. If the flow of air is not properly adjusted, or the air vent of the burner is closed, okay, if the flow of air is not properly adjusted, what happen? The air vent, the burner is closed, so it will give a yellow colored smoky flame. So here the teacher always see that blue colored flame and non-smoky flame should be there. And flask or beaker to be heated black, okay, so sometimes the flame starts to strike back and burn at the nozzle near the base. So these makes the burner very hot. So it happens due to fully open air vent. So in such a situation, put off the burner, cool it, and then ignite it again and adjust the air vent to get a proper non-luminous flame. So here the teacher must have the knowledge of how to set this Bunsen burner, how to arrange the proper airway in order to get the blue colored flame, okay, and non-smoky flame, not the yellow colored and black flame, okay, black smoky. So next one is glass tube and glass rods. Okay, so here both glass tube and glass rods are used in chemistry experiments. The glass rods are used for mixing, stirring, and transferring of chemicals and their solutions. So the glass tubes are used in passing gas into solutions. So many times need to cut glass rods and glass tubes to obtain their desired length. So the glass tubes are bent also by heating them to get a desired shape. Thus a teacher must be familiar with the technique of cutting and bending of glass rods and tubes, and then rounding, smoothing the freshly cut edge. Okay, here the teacher have the knowledge of how to cut the glass tubes and glass rods. These are useful for the stirring purposes and other purposes, and the teacher have to have the knowledge of how to smooth or make the edge round if it is a sharp, or cut if the edge is cut one. So if the edge is if the end of the glass tube or edge of the glass tube is sharp or it is a cut end, so what you do, you have to round and smooth it by the rounding and smoothing techniques that the knowledge should be having by the teacher. And weighing balance. In a number of experiments in chemistry, approximate or accurate weights of substances are required. Okay, so for weighing substances, different kinds of physical and chemical balances are used. Okay, nowadays we are using digital balances are also in use. So chemical balance give exact weight of substances. Generally, the analytical balance used in chemical laboratory may give exact weight up to the 4th decimal place. Okay, so this analytical balance give exact weights up to 4 decimal place. Okay, so a teacher must know all the details of using this maintaining balances. Okay, how to adjust the balance. Okay, which one is and he or she must have the knowledge of all types of balances like digital and analytical. And setting of apparatus for various experiments. Okay, like various types of apparatus are used in different chemical experiments, so teacher must be well versed in setting up of the apparatus. And solutions. In chemistry laboratory, many chemicals are used in the form of solutions. So in experiments related to titrimetric analysis, a variety of solutions are used. So these are termed as standard solutions. Okay, molar solutions, normal solutions, etc. So the teacher must know how to prepare these solutions. Methods of preparing these solutions are given in detail in the laboratory manual. Okay, so one must also be very clear about the primary and secondary standards. So it is also important to know how to prepare solutions of indicators like phenolphthalein, methyl orange, etc. Okay, because these indicators are regularly used, the teacher must have the knowledge of how to prepare these solutions for the acid base titrations and titrimetric analysis. And use of Gibbs apparatus. So why we use this Gibbs apparatus? Gibbs apparatus is generally used to prepare H2S gas. Okay, hydrogen sulfide. Gibbs apparatus is generally used to prepare H2S gas. Teacher must know how to set up this Gibbs apparatus to prepare the gas. So even if the gas is prepared by a laboratory attendant, so the basic concept of experimental chemistry is here. Okay, teacher must be well versed with the basic concepts of all the experiments to be done in the school laboratory. Okay, so teacher must be able to answer any question or problem which arises during the course of an experiment. Okay, so he must have the knowledge of apparatus, solutions, chemicals, glassware in order to provide proper experimentation. Next, physics laboratory. So essential facilities of physics laboratory include adequate number of electrical outlets. Okay, dark room facility for optics experiment, adequate storage space for all types of apparatus and equipment, space for carrying out project work, sufficient light and proper ventilation. Okay, these all to be checked properly. And a physics laboratory can be used as a learning resource in various ways, such as verification of results of earlier experiment, development of concepts, principles and laws discussed in the classroom, maybe during the discussion or proceeded or followed by the discussion, problem solving, project work, etc. A physics laboratory needs to be looked after to cater to all such needs. Okay, for performing experiments, for all those things this should be looked after. And most of the time we have been using physics laboratory in the context of verification of certain results. Okay, so prescribed as part of physics practical syllabus. In many schools, students and teachers ratio is so high that sometimes it is not feasible for the teacher to organize experimental activities involving students in individual practical work. So in such situations, group work should be encouraged. Okay, so teachers should be adequately trained in carrying out laboratory work and the skills required for working in physics laboratory. So what are the safety rules in physics laboratory? Same as we have discussed in the bioscience laboratory. Always follow the precautions suggested by the teacher for individual experiment and activity. Do not play with any apparatus, it may lead to an accident. Do not touch the electric switches with wet hands. Do not work with all doors and windows closed. Enter the laboratory in the presence of the teacher and follow all safety instructions. In case of fire or smoke or any accident in the laboratory, inform the concerned teacher immediately. Never try any secret experiment. Okay, and throw water and chemicals at proper places, not on the table or floor. And skills essential for working in the physics laboratory. What are the skills are required? Some of the essential skills for working in the physics laboratory are taking measurements using various instruments such as vernier calipers, screw gauge, traveling microscope, etc. So connecting electrical devices, soldering of electrical connections. What is the meaning of soldering of electrical connections? Soldering is nothing but two or more metal items are joining, that is called soldering. And using electric meters, working with images and mirrors, okay, and lenses, and taking required measurements using watches and clocks, measuring weight with different types of balance, locating magnetic poles is in permanent magnets, constructing temporary magnets, using cells and batteries, and plotting and interpreting graphs. Teachers should acquire proficiency in such skills and facilitate learners to learn many such skills. So for doing all these things, the teacher must have the knowledge of these things, that how to perform these experiments. And teacher should have understanding of calculations of different types of errors occurring during the course of experiment and their correction. So these may be identified and taken care of as personal or chance errors, okay, error due to external cause such as room temperature, pressure, etc., or instrumental error, or the apparatus. So teacher also must have the knowledge of these errors and calculations. And apparatus, finally the apparatus. So apparatus should be arranged in proper order in the laboratory to avoid any damage, okay, and all the apparatus should be handled carefully and cautiously. And most of the appliances, apparatus, devices, instruments and materials used in the laboratory come with some guidelines on how, when and why to use them, with proper instructions of handling and care. So whenever you are using those apparatus, you must go through those guidelines in order to proper use of those apparatus. And these guidelines may be very helpful in designing the experiences for the learners and should be consulted even if the teacher is sure that she knows everything related to the work to be done in the laboratory. Precautions suggested while using a particular apparatus should be observed strictly. Teacher must be well versed in setting up various experiments, okay, and a pre-laboratory session can be good idea in developing a framework for working in physics laboratory. This prepares learners for the activity and issues related to safety of apparatus to be used and their own safety also. And a pre-laboratory session can be helpful in making the context of the concept and the approach, like inductive, deductive and problem solving, to be followed. So before going to the laboratory, there should be a pre-laboratory session in order to give a good understanding to the students. And just like pre-laboratory discussion, post-laboratory session may be helpful in enhancing the learner's understanding. So after the lab experiments, okay, again discuss what they have did, what are their findings, results, conclusions, so that enhance the learner's understanding content and process in physics. Identification of learners misconceptions and naive concepts also here important, and difficulties faced by them and whether they were successful in their pursuit, how did they arrive at their conclusions and results, how did they make interpretations of the result, etc. Such post laboratory discussions might be helpful in exploring learners also. So the above cited guidelines for working in a physics laboratory are not exhaustive in nature. Depending upon the framework in which physics laboratory is being utilized as a learning resource, issues like nature of the resources needed, number of learners working simultaneously, etc. may arise. So okay, so these all the knowledge we must have as a teacher in order to facilitate the learning in laboratory. Okay, so why laboratory method learning is important, how to facilitate this learning, how to take care of the labs, okay, how to provide the facilities in lab, how to check the materials, solutions, apparatus, chemicals in the lab, okay, everything, these all knowledge must have the teacher must have this knowledge in order to facilitate the practical aspects of experience to the students. Okay, thank you.